Hey guys, welcome back to another video with InfoSec Pat. In today's video, what we're going to be talking about is the two differences between red teaming and blue teaming. That's why I think I have this New York Rangers hat, right? Because it's blue and red and white. But it's just is about this is about the red teaming and the blue teaming. There's an offensive side and a defensive side in the cybersecurity space. So in this video, I want to try to break down as best as possible for you to comprehend what is the differences, maybe some jobs. We'll go on the internet, we'll browse around, and I'll show you some stuff. So without further ado, before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, share my content. It's definitely appreciated. So here we go. So on my screen, we have the red teaming on the left and blue teaming on the right. So I'll read off here and then I'll sum it up, right? So the offensive security, there's ethical hacking on the red teaming, there's exploiting vulnerabilities, and we'll get into that in a minute, penetration testing or penetration tests, and there's what's called black box testing, and I'll explain every single bullet on here, and there's social engineering, and there's web application scanning, okay? And then on the right-hand side, we have blue teaming. This is the defense side, the defensive side now, right? So we have infrastructure protection, we have damage control, we have incident response, okay? We have operational security, threat hunters, and digital forensics, all right? So I'll try to break this down as best as possible to differentiate both of them, okay? So on the offensive security side, this is like your ethical hacking. This is like when you pay a consultant to go out to your site or just pay them to test the security on your infrastructure. If it's a web application, they'll run like a vulnerability assessment. They'll try to exploit the vulnerabilities because there's phases when you do a pen test, right? You're gonna do some information gathering, some reconnaissance on the target. Once you have the information that you gathered, or if maybe you just have one IP address or one web application or remote access server from the outside, or they want to test the firewall, the external perimeter, whatever they want to test, or it can be an internal pen test, right? Check Active Directory, do an internal audit if it has to be with compliant regulations like HIPAA, SOX 1, SOX 2, PCI DSS. There's plenty of penetration testing areas that you can specialize in. And so exploiting the vulnerability. So now we scanned, for an example, a Windows Server 2008 box. We found some SMB v1 stuff out there, or maybe an FTP server that they're running older FTP versions, even if it's a Windows FTP or if it's some kind of other version of FTP. And we can do like an Nmap scan with the version information, the operating system information, and do all that scanning to the target and see what comes back. And then we can go out to the internet and view and see if that version number is exploitable or vulnerable. And then then we can exploit it. Obviously, we'll try to exploit it, and that's exploiting that. And penetration tests, that's pretty much the whole thing, right? Like, this is what we're going to do once we have that exploit. Once we found the vulnerability, we try to exploit it. That's pretty much a pen test. And black box testing. So this is a test. So I come in as a consultant. You don't give me any information about the infrastructure or the network or the applications or anything. It's totally blind, right? So you say, hey, this is an IP or whatever they give you, or maybe they give you nothing. And they say just see what you can find. Scan. And I've done them, internal ones. I found like Telnet, Open, and running Wireshark. And once a network admin Telnet's into it, you intercept the traffic. But that's black box testing. Means that you don't have any information for the client. Okay? Social engineering. So social engineering is when you try to compromise the human element. Right? Like maybe you send a phishing email, maybe you'll go in and impersonate Comcast or AT&T, or maybe be that GQ that comes in and says, hey, I heard your internet's really slow. 99.9% of people will say, yes, my internet is super slow, right? So they're like, okay, let's check it out. Can you show me where your IT room, your MDF or your IDF, your network closet. And if it's a smaller company, they may not have internal IT, or they may have internal IT, but they're not like at that level. But they'll be like, okay, yeah, there's neighborhood outages or there's neighborhood problems. Let me check. And all you have to do is plug into the switch. And if they don't have port security or anything like that, that's a whole nother subject. But if they don't have security on those, you can see, and now you can do ARP spoofing, you can do man in the middles, and a whole bunch of cool stuff, right? That's like social engineering in a nutshell. I went off on a tangent, but that is it. So web application scanning. So say, for example, you want to scan, well, like Nikto, doing a vulnerability assessment for your web application. You can use Rapid7, you can use Qualys, Nessus, Tainable, LandGuard. There's a whole bunch of different kind of vulnerability scanners. So you scan your web application to see if there's any cross-site scripting or SQL injection kinds of attacks that are available. And that's pretty much the red teaming. They're pretty much the on the offensive side, on the outside or on the inside, but they're trying to do the attacks. Okay? Let's move to the blue teaming. I don't want to make this video too long, but I want to try to spend at least 5-6 minutes on each subject or each side. So defensive. So this is when we're going to go ahead and be the internal guy. We're going to make sure our firewall is up to date, make sure all of our network perimeter, man, I got this itch on my nose, it's annoying. But like infrastructure protection, firewalls, web application firewalls, want to make sure we have, everything in place. So when they're doing that web application scan, we can make sure we are defending against any cross-site scripting attacks or any kind of DOS attacks or any kind of outside attacks, right? So a damage control, same pretty much like a damage control is pretty much like, okay, I want to make sure I have BCP plan, business continuity planning in place, disaster recovery, right? DR sites, want to make sure our data is replicating, our data is safe, the data at rest is okay. And backups, test your backups and restoration, like make sure you can restore every quarter to test that backup is good, right? Incident response, so say if there's an incident for your SIM tool, there's malware that came into the system, it flags it and then you can respond and remediate that incident, okay? Operational security, this can mean a lot, right? Internal operations security can be antivirus, it can be, locking your door to your server room. This can be, don't put your password on your keyboard, lock your door when you leave your office so someone doesn't steal your laptop. This can mean so many things. And threat hunters, pretty much the same, like go ahead and test, see if there's any threats. I don't really do any of that. I don't really know too much about threat hunting or malware hunting and stuff like that because I don't do that. But yeah, threat hunters test to make sure your threats are, there's no anomalies coming through that's bad, right? And digital forensics, making sure like maybe e-discovery, maybe like data loss prevention. So say, for example, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, any critical confidential data that's leaked out. So say, for example, I work for ABC Incorporated and I scanned in someone's driver's license and a social security number, right? And I'm at ABC Incorporated and my email is infosecpat@abcincorporated.com, right? So now we can have, an ESS or email security service that's any emails that are going in and out of my email exchange, it can be monitored. So say I'm trying to email that information to my Gmail account. That's going to set off an alarm because there's a social security number, there's a driver's license number. We want to prevent data loss, right? Data that's getting out of our network. We want to make sure that's nipped in the butt before it gets into the wrong hands. So we want to make sure. And there's other digital forensics. There's like autopsy. There's other ways, getting data back that's deleted, or if you're going to a case or anything like that. You learn stuff like that from like the CHFI certification from EC Council, certified hacking forensics investigator. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff that you can dig deeper into, like steganography, and there's a whole bunch of cool stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much blue teaming versus red teaming. hopefully this video is informative for you guys. And if you have any questions, I just wanted to break this down because I got a lot of questions about this in the past, and I've just been busy doing other things and making sure, like, I'm doing stuff for Next Gen T, doing some other cool stuff, and I wanted to make sure that I put some content out there. And if you have any questions, hit me up. On InfoSec Pat, pretty much on every single platform, Instagram, Twitter, here on YouTube, and yeah, just leave a comment, like, subscribe, like I said, and until next time, guys, enjoy and be safe from that coronavirus. Thanks.